Hello and welcome to Tax Matters. We do think that it is still in order to wish all Nigerians Happy Democracy Day. So much is happening in the world of taxation in Nigeria. On Friday, the 11th of June, Mr. Muhammad Nami, Executive Chairman FIRS, Chairman Joint Tax Board, was at the National Assembly precisely before the House Committee on Public Accounts investigating revenue leakages and tax waivers. Two things we want to share with you from that event are: 1. That the Federal Inland Revenue Service does not grant tax waivers to local or foreign investors. In fact, it does not have that power. Rather, the power belongs to the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission, NIPC. 2. Are you desirous of going to court to contest a tax assessment served on your company by the FIRS? You are perfectly within your rights to do so. But now, in accordance with extant laws, you have to begin by first and foremost paying into a designated court account 50% of the disputed assessments. This was also disclosed at the public hearing held at the House of Representatives. According to Mr. Nami, the new rule is contained in a recent practice direction issued by the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court, Abuja, Honorable Justice John Tehema Toso, under Order 57, Rule 3 of the Federal High Court Civil Procedure Rules 2019. The practice direction took effect from 31st May 2021. We shall be sharing with you fuller details of these and other matters that came out of the hearing at the House of Representatives shortly.
Do you provide goods and services? Then you must answer these important questions. Are you registered for VAT? Do you charge VAT on the goods and services you provide? Do you keep records of all your transactions? Do you file VAT returns? Do you remit VAT collected to government coffers? If your answer to any of these questions is no, then you are breaking the law. The law demands total compliance. Therefore, you must register for VAT. You must charge VAT on goods and services. You must file VAT returns. And you must remit all VAT collected on behalf of government within 21 days to the bank nearest to you. To do otherwise is a crime punishable everywhere in the world. VAT is prescribed by the law. Do the right thing. Collect and pay VAT. This message is from the FIRS. It pays to pay your tax.
Welcome once again. The annual tax conference organized and hosted by the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria comes only once in a year. The annual tax conference is an intellectual feast as far as matters relating to taxation are concerned, even as it also provides opportunities for networking, for relaxation, and for many other things, with participants coming from all over the world. The 23rd Annual Tax Conference, that of 2021, was held in Kaduna, Kaduna State from the 18th to the 21st of May 2021. We brought you part 1 of the story of the conference a few episodes ago, and that cannot just be it for this once-in-a-year event. So on this episode, we want to revisit the story of the 23rd Annual Tax Conference. As a backgrounder, we want you to hear from some of the delegates. What did they gain from the conference?
So what are you taking away from the CS conference?
The governor of Kaduna State tasked the CITN President, Dame Simplis, with 4 major questions. Most important one was, we're an agricultural-based country and we're not taxing agriculture. So he wants us to, find out, how do we tax agriculture at the gate, not when it's out in the market. There's a lot of money being lost there. Now, it's not something for people to be afraid of. It doesn't mean you're going to pay a lot more. It just means we want to broaden the tax base. Yeah. The second concern he'd had was this e-commerce. They're benefiting so much from us, but because of the residence rule, we're unable to to tax them. We saw that Twitter, just to get closer to Nigeria, moved to Ghana because we've put ourselves out there in a negative light due to our protests and all these insecurities. So they're business people. They don't want to take a risk and lose money. Nobody's in business. So we have to let our citizens, we have to join hands and make the country safe. Investors will surely come. Nigerians are doing great everywhere around the world. As bad as people want to think we are or paint us, we're still the top in most industries. So there's no reason why we should not be the ones setting the pace for everybody else around the world. And the last but not the least was how to track taxpayers. He mentioned that. It's something we need to look into. I know FIRS has been in this since 2010. It's a continuous effort with the Joint Tax Board, and we'll continue to grow and get better. Nothing is sacrosanct in life. We're all learning by the day. The most important thing is we have leaders that are willing to listen and are willing and driven to commit themselves to bring solutions to Nigerians.
What do you think can be done to see that the digital economy is really being taxed, to generate more taxes from there?
Oh, thank you for that question. We're actually already doing it in the FIR. We started working on taxing e-commerce. It's a major part. The challenge is the residency rules that we have in our tax laws. And thank God for our Finance Acts. It's given us the platform to be able to quickly move with the world. I'm very proud of Nigeria in that sense because we're being proactive. We're trying to get to the problem before it even starts. And that, to me, is a major, major milestone. So what we need to do now is sit down and do number crushing, data crushing. Where are we spending money? Upon doing my research, I found out that during Corona, Nigeria actually shut down Netflix. Their server went down because of all of us that were on it, using it. It's quite unfair to Nigeria that the likes of Netflix are not coming to the table to say, hey, we recognize you as a global leader, and we also want to improve your economy because your economy is supporting our business. So that's what we need to get to. We need to get to the humanitarian side. Yes, we know we have laws, but if you want to continue with us, let us partner together. If not, maybe we'll consider something where what China did, where, for example, with TikTok, America's like they're not going to adopt TikTok because it's a China-based product. So one of the major companies was tasked to create a similar platform for Americans. So when that happened, China had to come to the table and negotiate. So we have two options. One is for the private entities, the e-commerce giants, to come and collaborate with us in order to grow our economy and be able to get services or render services to our people, and we benefit from it to grow the people. Or we grow ourselves and we create a platform for ourselves where our citizens will be using, and then we'll be able to tax appropriately.
Permit us to point out that this interview was conducted on the 20th of May, many days before the controversy over the social media platform. You know what I mean. On the theme of the conference.
How, in your opinion, can we use taxation as a tool for economic recovery?
It's the only way to go. Before now, this institute over the years, when I say over the years, in the past 10, 15 years, we'll be shouting, just like Prophet, that this day will come. But the good thing is that this day has come. And we have no choice in it. We need to, it's the only way to go. It's the sustainable way to finance the activities of the federal government and even the state up to the local government. All the government just need to do, because Nigerians are pretty not difficult people, all the government needs to do is to show sincerity in the usage of tax revenue. Once people can see that what they put in your hand in form of tax revenue is properly used, then of course there will be voluntary compliance. Once there is voluntary compliance, I tell you, we are still scratching the surface. This government can more than double the tax revenue in the next 24 months.
What, in your opinion, do you think can be done to tax the digital economy?
One of the strategies for me is actually ensuring that everybody migrate to the banking system. That is key. And we don't have trust in it. Once we are able to link activities on the banking platform to individual or corporate bodies, then it will be difficult to handle. So the cashless economy that was actually emphasized under Soludo regime as the CBN governor has to be emphasized more than ever before now. So be it whatever transaction you are doing, once you are doing it on the platform and your record, the database is there, then of course it won't be difficult to capture. And we also need to be Nigerian focused. The Netflix of this world, the Facebook of this world, and all the whatever, they know the benefit they get from the country. So you can't get benefit from a place and you ignore the other side of contributing to that economy. But of course, nobody is going to do this on their own. So the government must put in parameters to ensure that these people who are benefiting from the country pay the required tax revenue obligations, as the case may be, to the country. That's the way to go. So for me, the moment we are still not having the database of everybody on board, then we have not started.
Sure, you must be convinced now that it was indeed a worthwhile experience for delegates, and the conference lived up to its billing as an intellectual feast. On Wednesday, 19th of May, the technical session took off in earnest with the presentation of the theme paper titled Taxation for Economic Recovery, a Necessity for Social Engagement and Economic Sustainability. Chairman of the session was Alhaji Kamaru Adigun, a past president of the CITN. The paper was presented by Dr. Sheyi Olarinwaju, Country Chief Financial Officer of Mixta Africa, who joined virtually. A panel of 3 discussants discussed the paper. Later in the afternoon, there was a panel session that discussed economic recovery and growth plan post-COVID-19 pandemic. The moderator of the session was Professor Godwin Oyedokun of the Lead City University, Ibadan. Taxation of digital services has become a topical issue around the globe, consequent upon the humongous progress that has been made in the digital space with regard to business, leisure, life, and living. The migration of businesses into the virtual space, away from the brick and mortar of the past, has meant that tax authorities have had to struggle to track transactions and collect taxes due from those transactions. In full realization of this, the Nigerian government introduced provisions in the Finance Act 2019 that sought to capture providers of digital services in the tax net through the provision on significant economic presence. This was followed up in the Finance Act 2020 with the introduction of the Digital Services Tax. All these did not escape the attention of the organizers of the 23rd Annual Tax Conference. Consequently, a whole session was devoted to the discussion of this matter with the title, Prospects and Challenges of Digital Services Tax in a 21st Century Society. Leading the discussion via Zoom was Mr. Logan Worth, Executive Secretary, ATAF. Chairman of the session was Dr. Aisha Ikmidugu, Coordinating Director, Digital Support Group, who was in familiar territory.
It is a known fact that digital services tax is an issue that is of concern not only to developing countries, but developed countries as well. Matured tax administrations are also having challenges in taxing the digital sector. And the digital sector is playing a very critical role in economies. Of recent, we've seen how the sector has contributed to the Nigerian economy based on the statistics that was reeled out by the National Bureau of Statistics.
A panel of 3 held the audience spellbound while educating and re-educating them.
So there is going to be the mismatch when it comes to applying tax rights on a global scale. That is one of the challenges, of having digital service tax as a kind of a separate tax regime. Even in Nigeria, we have a long way to go, because even with the Finance Act of 2019, there are still a lot of issues to be, to be dissected or to be, resolved, especially as it affects the definition of significant economic presence.
We are losing a lot of money. You will agree with me that today we sit in our home, pay for services. Everybody, most businesses have moved online, and then the taxing rights establishes a nexus between physical presence and your ability as a nation to tax those businesses.
I need us to also understand that it's not that easy. Digitalization will also pose its own problem. Even the physical one that we are having today, we are going to court every day, we are going to tribunal every day, let alone the one that you don't have physical presence. So we must be sure that we are ready for this before we go and adopt wholesale this concept of digitalization, but that is where to go.
The audience participated in the discussion.
If we fail to collect and taxation goes into arrears or debt and audit issues comes up, do we as accountants have the right tools to conduct this tax audit and deliver results?
There are tools for tax audit for digital services. From my experience of recent, of trying to tax audits or trying to collect taxes from betting companies, I come to realize that we also need to complement that with integration of our softwares. So as you are collecting, it's important you also integrate at the back end so that you'll be able to see what you are collecting on. So I want to allay his fears that as we are trying to provide possibly policies and laws on how to do the taxation of digital services, it comes with integration softwares that will be able to, integrate into the collections and the transaction models for you to be able to see what is happening at the back end. Those tools are available.
There was another panel discussion on taxation and entrepreneurship development, implications for job creation, skills acquisition, and poverty reduction in Nigeria.
Going, that is good. Now everywhere you go, you can easily identify our 15th president.
We are staying with the CITN as we continue our story of the investiture of Mr. Isaac Adeshino Adedayo as the 15th president of the CITN on Saturday, the 5th of June, 2021. In her valedictory speech, Dame Simplis, the 14th president of the CITN, reeled out her achievements in the last 2 years.
Significant steps we are taking to enhance the Institute's brand during my tenure. The new brand identity for the Institute was launched during the 22nd Annual Tax Conference held in November 2020. We have commenced the issuance of specialized, personalized, secure stamps for tax practitioners. Prior to this period, we sensitized existing members and stakeholders on this development, and further sensitization will continue. 4 district societies were inaugurated during the period, bringing the number of district societies to 43. As I rounded up my presidency, even at Wauti, we have been able to create more awareness in the sub-region. Togo, Liberia, and Gambia have since joined Wauti.
Mr. Adedayo formally accepted the mantle of office and proceeded to present his acceptance speech.
It is fulfilling for me to be here today to accept the office of the President of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria. I appreciate God for His favor in my career and for taking me this far in CITN. I give Him all the glory.
Tax Matters asked Mr. Adedayo how he felt assuming the presidency of the CITN.
Sir, how do you feel today?
I consider this the climax of a career that started because ultimately the objective is to get to the top. And when my co-council members considered me worthy of being elected as the 15th president, I felt on top of the world. Now, while feeling excited, I'm equally mindful of the challenges that the office entails. And the duty of anybody who occupies such a high position in Nigeria today is to be conscious of the economic realities of the country and come up with solutions. Criticism will not solve it. Anybody can criticize, but it takes somebody who can think deeper, which is what our council has agreed we need to do. We should be proffering solutions to the country's problem, not joining the bandwagon of critics. And that is what my presidency will entail.
Now, during your speech, you spoke about you are going to make Nigerians stock tax. How do you intend to do that, and where does that leave us?
Thank you very much. We are going to engage stakeholders. We are mindful of the media model. And the media model requires that if you don't package a product effectively, people will reject it without checking the content. What I'm going to do as the person who is leading an institute that wants to make tax profession palatable, a situation where nobody will want to part with money, but you are telling people part with your money, and why should they do that? The only reason why they will do that is that what will the money do ultimately for myself and my future generation? I can tell you, there is no development without taxation. And when you have tax, you also need to talk about accountability. When you have accountability, you need to know where the tax money is actually going into. If the tax money goes into this, you realize we are a country that is growing by the day. Our population is increasing. What do we have for the next generation? That is a question that will always be at the back of our mind as an institute. We don't want to be a country of beggars. We don't want to be a country that is going to be dependent on people providing just foreign aid. What can we do to also generate internal revenue? These are the concerns that will be on my mind during the period of my presidency.
We also spoke to some of the well-wishers in attendance.
So how do you feel today being the investiture of the 15th president of the CITN, Mr. Adeshina Adedayo, and what do you expect from him?
Adedayo, as we used to call him in the CITN family, the Oracle. So we know that the Oracle is on board, and the Oracle is going to perform wonders. I trust him, I believe in him, what he can do.
He's someone who is focused and dedicated, and I trust that he's the best person for this role at this time.
He's been at CITN for quite some time. He has learned the rope. He was a treasurer for a number of years before becoming deputy vice president to vice president and now the president. So definitely he has been groomed. He has groomed himself, and the institute has groomed him for this particular position.
We join these men and women in congratulating Mr. Adedayo and wish him a successful tenure, just as we wish you, our viewers, a successful week ahead. Thank you for watching. See you next week.